Hi, this is Mr. Churchill talking to you today about the Renaissance with my son Darcy. Say hi, Darcy.
Hi, Darcy.
Job. Which took place roughly between 1300 and 1600 AD. Yes, I do mean you. Okay, so what I'd like you to do first is write down just 2 to 3 sentences. What do you know about the Renaissance? If you've never heard of the Renaissance, what I'd like you to do is just take a look at these images and talk about what comes to mind when you look at them. So go ahead and pause the video and just jot down 2 to 3 sentences about these images or what you know about the Renaissance already. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to set the stage for the Renaissance. So prior to the Renaissance, you have the Dark Ages. Okay, this is between 476 with the fall of Rome going to about 1000 AD. Now, there's a few things that made the Dark Ages dark. The first thing is the fall of Rome. Now, depending on who you ask, the fall of Rome may or may not have been a good thing. For example, if you ask the people that the Romans dominated, they might have said, hey, actually, yeah, that was a good thing. And certainly if you ask the Romans, very bad thing. But one thing that the Roman Empire did offer was a sense of unity, right? And a certain structure in society. Structure in commerce and roads and learning and so forth. And a lot of that sort of collapsed for a time after the fall of Rome. So then you also have the Black Death. Okay, that's what we know as the Plague, which took place between 1346 and 1353. Now what I'd like to do here is to just show you a quick little image. And what this emphasizes is just how rapidly the plague spread throughout almost all of Europe and wiped out roughly a third of the population of the whole continent. Okay, so out of this, there was a kind of rebirth, a new found interest in the pursuit of knowledge, which is why I'm showing some images here. This is the University of Paris, established sometime between 1150 and 1170. Petrarch here. Okay. So again, the Renaissance takes place roughly between 1300 and 1600 AD. The word Renaissance literally means rebirth. What's it mean? Can you say rebirth? Rebirth, that's right. It's a rediscovery of the classics, the art, the philosophy, the literature, the science of Rome and Greece, and the rise of something called humanism. It's also a period of advancements in many of the studies that we just talked about. Okay. Humanism can be defined as a Renaissance school of thought which emphasized human rather than divine or supernatural matters. So instead of focusing on different deities or or even on God, they emphasized everyday human life and human concerns. Humanist beliefs stress the potential and goodness of human beings, emphasize common human needs, and seek solely rational ways of solving human problems. So in other words, if your crops aren't growing, they're going to come up with a rational way, like how do we get our crops to grow, rather than, let's say, praying to the gods to get them to grow, something like that. Okay. Humanism included a renewed interest in the classics. Okay, these are again specifically Greek and Roman classics. An appreciation for the human form, the dignity of man, secularism, and syncretism. Now there's a few vocab words in there. Don't sweat them right now. We're going to talk about them later. All right, so first thing here, humanism, a renewed interest in the classics. Now, even if you have no idea who this woman is, you might recognize this creature as a centaur. And if you're at all familiar with Greek myths, you know that that's from Greek mythology. But here's the point. This particular painting is by Sandro Botticelli. Okay, and it's done much later, much after the sort of Greek golden era. It's done in 1482. This, by the way, is Athena. The goddess Athena. Okay? All right. Now, you've probably seen this guy, Michelangelo's David, done 1501 to 1504. At some point. What I'd like you to do right now is just go ahead and shout out the first thing that you notice about him. Okay. Now, I've asked that question to a lot of different students, and the first thing that almost everybody notices is that he is naked. Okay, that emphasizes the humanist appreciation for the human form. Now, if I asked you, though, what's the first thing that you notice about David, other than the fact that he's naked? Almost immediately, you see that he is jacked, right? He is very strong. He is in peak physical condition, right? This also shows the humanist desire to show man's potential, all that man was capable of, and as a result, human beings were generally shown in peak physical condition. You can also see how similar this is in some ways to Greek art, such as the Greek Venus de Milo, done much, much earlier in about 100 BC. I also want to take a moment to look here at Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, done about 1487 AD. Okay? What's interesting about this is that it shows an incredible symmetry. Okay? That symmetry, in some ways, is almost like a microcosm of the symmetry of the universe. Again, emphasizing the importance of man.
Let me look.
Yeah, pretty cool, right?
Yeah, but he might be. I don't know.
That's David.
Yeah, but something's on. Something's on his body.
Well, he's holding the sling that he fought Goliath with. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the dignity of man. Now, you've probably seen this image on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel by Michelangelo, done 1508 to 1512. What I want you to notice about this is here's Adam, here's God. Adam, a human being, is about to touch the hand of God, the Creator himself. This is how the humanists thought of mankind. They thought of mankind as being almost on level with God, capable of limitless potential. Moving on with the concept of the dignity of man, I'd also like to talk about Giovanni Pico della Mirandola's oration on the dignity of man. So what I'd like you to do here is I'm going to read to you this passage. It's just a brief passage. And what I want you to do is write one paragraph talking about what you think is the most important thing in this passage. Now, if you have someone with you, ideally what you want to do is each person can write a paragraph, and then I want you to come to a consensus amongst the two or three of you, however many there are, and then collectively write a new paragraph about the singular most important idea in this passage. So here it is. Okay. Imagine the generosity of God, the happiness of man. To man, it is allowed to be whatever he chooses to be. As soon as an animal is born, it brings out of its mother's womb all that it will ever possess. Spiritual beings from the beginning become what they are to be for all eternity. Man, when he entered life, the Father gave the seeds of every kind and every way of life possible. Whatever seeds each man sows and cultivates will grow and bear him their proper fruit. If these seeds are vegetative, he will be a plant. If these seeds are sensitive, he will be like an animal. If these seeds are intellectual, he will be an angel and the Son of God. He will surpass every created thing. Who could not help but admire this great shapeshifter? In fact, how could one admire anything else? Okay, take a moment to pause the video, write your paragraph again. If you're with someone else who can do the same thing, combine the two and write a new paragraph together. Okay? Secularism. Now, first, before we get into talking about the money changer and his wife,